This third lesson is all about how do you go about collecting data. In statistics, we're going to organize and analyze data, but how do we get that data in the first place? Well, in this class, the data is pretty much always going to be handed to us. Most of this lesson is about how do you do surveys, what are different ways to do experiments or observational studies. We're not going to be doing that in this class, and so I kind of think it's silly to put it on a test. But what I do want you to learn is how do you make an unbiased question? And the reason is just because bias is everywhere in our culture today. Biased questions, biased wording, and I want you to be able to spot it when you see it. So let's just take a simple one. Say I do a survey and ask people, why is jogging good for you? What are they going to answer? They're going to say, oh, it helps you to lose weight, or it helps you to lower your cholesterol, or whatever else it does, yada yada. Well, then I go on TV and I say, hey, 95% of Americans say that jogging's a good way to lose weight and lower cholesterol and all these other things. Well, that's not really a legitimate survey, because the way I asked the question, I said, why is jogging good? So pretty much everyone is going to say good things about jogging. I didn't really allow for the possibility of them to say, I think jogging is a bad way to lose weight because, well, I don't know, maybe it tears up your knees. I have some friends that played basketball in high school and they really regret it now because have a hard time walking. So you need to be careful when you're asking a question on a survey to allow for all possible points of view. Otherwise, you're going to hear exactly what you want to hear, and even though that may make you happy, it doesn't make for a good survey. Alright, let's do one that's a little more subtle than that last one. Let's say I ask you, do you believe that Hollywood has a negative effect on young girls' dieting habits? Well, this is a little less biased than the last question because at least I asked, do you believe? So I'm explicitly giving you that possibility of saying, no, I do not believe that Hollywood has a negative effect on young girls' dieting habits. But still, the way I worded it, I put this idea in your mind, hey, maybe Hollywood does have a negative effect. You might not have ever thought of that before, but now that I asked you the question in this form, it gets you thinking about it. So even though it's less biased than the last question, it's still worded in a way that's going to lead you to want to say yes. And so we need to, at the very least, you need to get rid of that word negative. Maybe say just, oh, do you believe that Hollywood has an effect on young girls' dieting habits? That's still not totally kosher, but it's a lot better. Anyway, let's try another one. Let's say I'm doing a survey and I ask, how many hours of TV do you watch in a week? There's nothing particularly biased about that. I mean, you might say, well, you're assuming that the person actually watches TV, but if you ask somebody who doesn't watch TV, how many hours of TV do you watch in an average week? They're going to say, oh, no, I don't watch TV. So the way the question's wording, it doesn't really exclude or make you more prone to choose one answer over another. So this is a good question. Well, why is this topic important? The reason is because our culture is really, really filled with propaganda. And the main tool of propaganda is biased wording. So let me just take one example that's probably going to make some people perk up a bit. Let's take abortion. If you talk to someone who's pro-abortion, they won't use the word abortion. Nobody actually ever uses the word abortion. The pro people will say, oh, we're talking about a woman's right to choose. Because when they say right, okay, it brings up ideas of freedom and we all think freedom is a good thing. So if I call abortion the right to choose, then I'm going to make you more prone to look on abortion favorably. On the other hand, if I'm against abortion, I'm not going to say abortion either. I'm going to say, oh, we're talking about killing unborn children. Well, killing is bad. And so if I come up to you and say, oh, what do you think about the death of all these unborn children? You're going to tend to have a negative view of it. And of course, that's what I'm going for, because I don't want you to like abortion. Let's give some more examples. Let's say conservatives. Let me change my color so you can read it a little better. Conservative was originally a biased wording in and of itself, but since people got used to it, people call it, oh, they're maybe the values voters, right? Or the Democrats, or the liberals, will say, oh, they are the socially responsible party, or something like that. They pick wording. It's like you say, oh, values. We all love to have, we believe that we're good moral people. And so if you call yourself values voters, you're going to make people perk up and lean one way. On the other hand, we say, oh, responsibility is key. So, and socially, I mean, who doesn't want to look out for their fellow man? So if you call yourself the socially responsible party, that's going to make people perk up and want to be liberals. So the point I'm making is that this sort of wording is everywhere in culture, and as hard as it is to do, you really got to learn to just not hear it. You got to try to strip away all of the bias and just look at values and think logically, all that good stuff.